Hey, welcome back. Dun, dun, dun. That is not a Blade HQ box. They do not put that much tape on their boxes. That is someone using a Blade HQ box to simulate a knife. Let me just do this one off screen because this one has a lot of tape on it and I would rather not damage something by mistake. All right, not too bad, not too bad. We're in. All right, what do we have here? This is cool that they're now sending these in these plastic bags. Maybe this was just this may have been just Blade HQ actually did that. Now I think about it. Blade HQ probably packaged them up in this for their selling. I think that's what it was. So Blade HQ did this run on the CPM-M4 Slicer Sharks. This one is gray G10, which I think is super cool. Obviously, I'm a pretty big fan of gray. I carry that knife quite a bit. Now it's become my desk jockey, and my G10 has been my carry knife lately, but still does a great job. And there you go. Definitely have liked the way the Demco knives look in gray. I'm gonna nerd out a little here and tell you when I first saw one of these was on a Metal Complex video, and he had these two knives on the video. And what I noticed is they didn't look very different to me. The $375 titanium AD20.5 and the $150 Grivery AD20.5. From a distance, I mean, you can see what it looks like right here. You don't, there are differences, right? You don't have the big hardware, but generally they looked so similar to me. I was just like, maybe I'll just get one of those. And that's like one of my first Demcos was this guy right here. It's been resharpened. You can see on the end there, it's got junk on it. It's been damaged. Had to take a chip out of it that I put in there, crashing into my chainsaw. Anyway, that's what got me on gray, and I've really liked it ever since. But what makes this one so special? Well, that blade shape for one, which sort of falls in between the shark foot and the clip point variants that they've been putting out on different models, or maybe even the drop point variant. I don't think I have one handy right here, but yeah, I guess you'd say more like the drop point. They put the slight recessed area here in the jimping, which feels really good in the hand. You got like a slightly bigger peanut here versus the standard AD20S has more of like a pure oval slot with straight lines top and bottom. You get, this line right here doesn't dip at all. You can see how this one here kind of looks like it dips because these actually get bigger on the either end of the fuller. Sweet knife. In this gray, you don't have to worry too much about it getting dirty and stuff. I don't know if I've ever cleaned up my handle on this one. And it has done a lot of pocket time, and it looks pretty much like new. That's why a lot of people like these textured tie also, of course. But yeah, this thing's a really interesting new blade shape that sort of falls between that drop point and the shark foot, so you get the advantage of having actually a more aggressive tip than the drop point, which is interesting, almost like a spear point type tip. And it actually drops down quite a bit. So if you're doing, if you're having to get into like utility kind of cut, it's going to cut deep because it's very pointy, versus the shark foot. One of the advantages here is it's very easy to do a shallow cut. But, if you keep it under control and stuff, this is just a really, really well-rounded blade shape. So had an opportunity to trade a little bit of redundancy in my collection to grab this one and check it out, see how I like the gray handle on it. It's definitely good, and actually it doesn't feel too abrasive. It feels pretty smooth actually. I wonder if it actually somehow feels smoother. I actually feel like this handle's maybe a little different than the traditional shark foot handle. Give me one sec to see if I can see some actual differences, but I don't know. Feels like it's maybe knocked down a little more around the edges, but not sure. This is a pretty new generation one here too, so you would think pretty much anything that changed for that generation would be the same on this one, but not 100% sure. Anyways, I think it's very understated. You know, you got a blade steel that looks a lot like a handle in this case. It's very utilitarian looking. Got a nice little forward choil there to get further choked up. Just a very nice knife. You can do a lot with that. In the recent Facebook group interview, there was a lot of debate in the conversation in the interview. There's like a 1-hour interview, and one of the questions is, "What are you carrying?" And the guys were going back and forth if they could only carry one knife. And most people ended up here or a full-size AD20 just because it was like end of time kind of conversation. And it was kind of cool. Andrew Demko was sitting there talking about how he actually loved the idea of asking those questions. You could imagine a lot of people going like, why do you even ask that question? It's not realistic. But there's something interesting about the concept of constraint. And, you know, there are obviously a lot of people that like knives and firearms, and a lot of people in the community, the EDC community, that do have a little bit of the old post-apocalyptic preparation, doomsday prepper kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. That's I'm not going to say whether or not that's a good idea. It's totally up to you if you feel more comfortable doing that or not comfortable doing that, whatever. I don't really care, honestly. That's what it is. You do what you enjoy and make whatever makes you feel good. As long as, you know, you're not messing around with other people, then I really don't care too much what people do on their own, frankly. But these two in the full-size AD20, like there was no one was going AD20.5. No one was like, oh, I really just want to save a couple ounces. Everyone on the Demco team was either going, yeah, this thing's just that all-arounder. It's slim, but it's the full size of the full size. And a lot of people were like, yeah, but if I needed to, you know, really get into something, I might want the full size. And then a few of them were just talking about, but man, that shark foot on a daily basis is such a useful knife. Like if I just had to have one around the shop, it sounded like around the shop they really like the shark foot. As like an all-arounder, they like the slicer shark, or whatever this is called, M4 slicer shark. Slicer shark. And they talked a lot about the CPM M4, and they really like this blade steel. If you know M4, it's amazingly strong at, you know, holding an edge. It's really good, you know, edge retention because it's very high Rockwell hardness. I don't know what the heat treat is. Demco doesn't really, you know, disclose what they do on that, but they are known for being a hard-used knife for a reason, and I have a lot of confidence that they're doing a good job on that heat treat. You know, more so than the average knife maker for sure. I was chatting with like a very prolific Demco collector today, and I was asking him if he collected other knives, and the answer was not really. And I was like, yeah, I know, sometimes Demcos can make other knives feel very flimsy. They just make a very robust knife. Even on these slims, they just feel robust. For a 5-ounce knife, this thing, yeah, it's ready to go. Those big slabs of G10 that you get here, look at the size of the standoffs. Those could be much smaller to save a little bit of weight. Those are super robust. So they build for wear, which is cool. So I think that's all for now. I've obviously reviewed the Dayglow M4 slicer, so feel free to check that one out if you want to go more into like the nerdiness, but just kind of why I grabbed this one, and hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.